Whether you're looking to boost your productivity, enhance your learning, or simply refine your web usage, let this episode, called Chrome Commandments, be your go-to guide for all things Chrome.
We're living in a digital world where classrooms have screens and endless possibilities. Just a click away to fuel our dreams.
Hello and welcome to the Integrate This EdTech podcast, the go-to digital space for educators and tech enthusiasts. I'm your host, David Berner, along with my co-host, Jeremy Mikla. Together, we are your navigators through the enthralling world of technology and education. As we unpack the most innovative EdTech tools and strategies, we invite you to join us in sculpting dynamic, tech-savvy classrooms. Poised for today's digital learning odyssey, let's plunge into the depths of innovation.
If you haven't had a chance, you need to check out our two-part interview that we had with Nicole Pruden called Teach and Protect Cybersecurity Tips for Teachers. She shared with us some valuable advice on how to protect ourselves and our students from cyber threats. You can find those videos on our YouTube page. This week, David and I are back with a continuation of our Google Essentials series focusing on Google Chrome. We'd love to hear about any tips you'd like to share with others, so please leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to join our growing community by subscribing and liking our videos and staying tuned for more tech magic.
Also, Jeremy and I have some events we are presenting at in the near future. We'll be at the TIES conference in South Dakota, April 15th through the 16th. So after you pay your taxes, come and see us. If you have other events or presentations you would like us to do, please reach out to us on our socials. We like to arrange presenting with other groups as well. So you can find those links in our show description.
So, David, you're going to kick things off here with Google Chrome and talk about some of the essential features that you like to use with it. So have at it.
All right. So the first thing that I would like to show is I want to go over the managing bookmarks. There's a couple cool things to show in regards to that. If you are in your browser and you click on the three dots on the right-hand side, there's going to be your bookmarks and lists right here. If you hover over that, you're going to be able to access the Bookmark Manager. And so this is where everything is going to be located. And so what's nice about this is like you can still, manage things from here. Like if you want to create within this bar where you can see all my folders, you can still create things from there. But what's nice about if you just go to the Bookmarks Manager, you can at least see things a little bit better. It's not, so small up here at the top, and then you can manage things a little bit more effectively. In the right-hand side, there's a menu over here. And this is also where you could add in folders, or you can, sort your bookmarks. I have a lot of folders already, as you can see, just to keep things in their proper category, so that if I'm working on something, say, like Google G Suite stuff, I know that all my items are going to be found within that folder. You can see there's a couple here that are outliers, and that I'm actually going to use those to show you how we can manage individual links as well. But let's say, for adding folders, it's really as simple as clicking the three dots there, click add new folder, and then we will just put example for this one and click save. And then we have our new folder, which obviously there's nothing in it currently, but this would be where now you can add bookmarks in. If you click the three dots here, you can delete it, you can rename it. You could also take and drag and move things into it. So if you have some that are just these standalone links, you could drag that into there. And then when you go to your example, there it is now. And then up to within the folder, if something is in there, like for this one is an artificial intelligence one, but maybe that doesn't belong there. And so again, just managing, deleting things from folders. And this is just, I find, a good way to keep everything organized. So if you're someone who has, an endless stream of single bookmarks, this is a really good way to do that. So that, and I do this with my Google Drive as well. the use of folders is kind of priceless in my opinion, just to be able to stay organized because
I think we'll
I know
debate
Jeremy,
that one next week.
yeah, yeah, I know like Jeremy and I like if you're constantly looking at all these different tools and all these different things are coming up, you're gonna inevitably have all these links that you save that you have to do something with, and it's a lot harder to go through hundreds and hundreds of links by their name if you don't, it's a lot harder to look for things. So I like that folder folder option for that. Um, the other thing you can do with the bookmarks, so outside of the folders, is when you are managing the bookmarks. We'll just go back here to our bookmarks. One thing that's kind of cool about the bookmarks on your bar and just even within the manager is that typically if you save a bookmark, you're going to have where the URL is listed there. Um, what I like is the ability to edit that. So, say for like this click to tweet website, um, you might just want to rename that. So rather than being a URL, you might say like click to tweet so that it changes the URL version of it to a text version of it. So then um, you're dealing with, plain text versus the URL. The one thing um, that also is nice is if you do have a number of solo sites that you use a lot and maybe they don't belong in a folder or maybe you don't want them in a folder because you just want to be able to easily access them. Maybe it's things that deal with like student data or their, student websites that you use that you want to be able to just navigate to quickly or even like lesson planning stuff or curriculum. Just if you want to, you can also you don't even have to use the text version. One thing you can do too is if you just delete the text and hit save, it'll just have the icon. So like for this one and my Britannica one, let's say I want to create some more space up here in my bookmarks area. I can start to just delete the names. Now, one thing that's I find important is like you're gonna want to obviously know the icon. You can hover over the icon to see what the website is, which is nice. But one thing that's going to help a little bit is looking at these icons and being able to know like, okay, this is my Bright Byte survey. I'm gonna, I know that this icon is representative of that website. If you have a whole lot of these globes up there, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. However, again, you can still hover over it and see what that's for. So, just a few tips there for managing your bookmarks and customizing what it looks like up top and in your bookmark manager. And so, just a few nice tips there for you when you're organizing your own stuff. Okay. And then the second thing that I've got is we're going to take a look at grouping tabs. And I'll have to be honest, the first time that I ever happened upon this is um, my son was doing stuff for school on his Chromebook, and I noticed he had all these color coded groupings that were up there, and I was like, "What is that?" Which I should have known because I mean, I use Chrome, I train on Google and stuff like that, and then I must have just missed it somehow, and then so um, he ended up teaching me how to use the groupings. So I'm going to show you, courtesy of his teaching, what you can do with your tabs up top here. So one thing you can do is with like if you have things that are alike, like in this case, these are all what I would call AI tabs that I would be looking at. If I right click on one of them, I can go to this add tab to new group. If I click that, it's going to allow me to name the group so I can do, you know, artificial intelligence. And you can see it being written in real time there. And so right away, this is going to be part of that grouping. And so I can I can color code these if I want. So maybe I want my artificial intelligence grouping to be blue, and it'll just change that. Um, you can ungroup them at any time. So, like if you want to get rid of it like that, you can just go ahead and click the ungroup, and it will remove that grouping. We'll put it back here. You can save the group too if you want, so that it stays there. Should you close it, um, or your browser, you have the ability to hide the group. The other thing you can do is you can move group to a new window as well. If you want to take and move a grouping of tabs so that you're separating them from, maybe you just want that browser to be working on AI, and then I have like some Google ones here, and maybe I want that to just be focused on that. Um, so if I do create the grouping, then when I have these other pieces that are outside of that, so like this one you can tell is not part of the artificial intelligence grouping. There's no blue line under here that would indicate. But if you see that this blue line encompasses this tab, showing that that's a part of that. So if I right click and I do add tab to group, I can either create a new group, which I'll do in a second with the Google one. But for this one, this is also AI. So I'm going to make it a part of the artificial intelligence group. And then it's going to extend that blue line. So now you'll see it there. So if I go over here, you can kind of see now it's underneath that. And then if I click on the tab, it'll go around that to indicate that that's still a part of that grouping. It's just that I'm on that current tab, so it looks a little bit different. Now, if I have a bunch of them that are laid out here, if I click the grouping, it's going to minimize that. So then you can't see it. You can only see the grouping. So that's actually really nice for, if you've got a bunch of tabs open, this is a way to reduce, sometimes you'll see where people have like 3,000 tabs here, right? This is a way to group them so that you can minimize those. And then when you are ready to go back to that grouping, you extend that so then you can access just the things that are part of that. So it's another really good organization piece. Okay. And so then now I have my two tabs here for artificial intelligence and Google EDU, and I can go to those anytime. And it significantly reduces the amount of what you see. So underlying this, we obviously have more tabs open. It's just that we are managing the look of that as we're using the browser. Okay. And then lastly, what I want to show is we get questions, about managing extensions. So a lot of times what'll happen is if you download a Google extension, you're going to see it up here, but sometimes people will not know where that's located. The ones that get put in this bar that are visible, they're there as a result of pinning the tab. So these, if you click on your puzzle piece here, you'll notice that like my Calendly one has the pin fully colored in. So that's indicating that this tab is pinned, whereas this, Chrome Remote Desktop or Equagio, iDropper, these are not pinned. So if I do pin one of these, it will show up in this area. So you want to pin the ones that you're going to be consistently going back to, and then you can just manage that here by toggling those on or off. You can also manage from here. So like if you want to do your remove it from here, you can do that. But then you can also go into the manage extensions option to see everything and then remove whatever you're not using and manage that. You also don't have to necessarily remove it. You could just turn it on and off here as well. So if you want to keep that extension in there, but you just don't want to see it up here any longer, it's another way of unpinning it. But one thing that's nice is if you have a bunch of them, you could just go into your manager here and then you could unpin several of them and turn them off for the time being while they still sit within your extension library. so not having to download it again. All right, so that kind of wraps up some of my favorite features in Google Chrome with the bookmarks, the grouping of tabs, and the extension management. And now Jeremy's going to share with us some of his favorite features in Google Chrome.
All right, so probably my favorite feature within Chrome, at least when it comes to working with students, happens to be something called reading mode, and it is built right into your Google Chrome, and it does a few different things. So I just have an article that's pulled up here from CNN, and you can see it's got all sorts of information and content, but there's also some distractor stuff that's on this site as well that I don't necessarily want to be um, distracting a student who's trying to read from this particular page. So that's one of the things that it'll do. But it'll also make it easier for a student, especially if they have some struggling reading issues, that they can better be able to digest the content that's on the page. And so you find reading mode by going up in the top part of your screen next to where your like little Chrome icon would be, and there's this little side panel window. And remember, David talked about the extension puzzle piece. So it's kind of like right next to that. And I'm going to click to open the side panel, and it'll come up here in your list of choices that are in this drop down. So if you open it and it shows reading list or bookmarks, you can change that with this drop down right here and choosing reading mode. So one of the things that you'll see here right away is that it still shows you the main article, but over here in this side panel on the right-hand side is that article. It is just the content that's there. It removed all that distractor stuff. You can also, if you wish to, drag the size of that panel one way or the other, and you can see that it adjusts as you're doing that. But one of the really cool things here is that not all fonts are great for our students to read in. So one of the things that you can do is you can change that font to a different one if you wish by clicking that drop down menu. So when I click the drop down, maybe Comic New is a better one for my students to be able to read with. So you can see that by changing the font, maybe it's a little bit easier, maybe it's a more dyslexic friendly font that your students will find easier to use. In addition to changing the font, up here next to the font name, there's an A minus and an A plus. Every time that I click the A plus button, you could see that it makes that text larger. So again, maybe some students with some visual impairments can use that to blow up the size of the text on the page that they're reading. And you can see it definitely helps with that. And I can reduce that with the minus button as well. Next to the A plus button is your little art palette. You can also change the color theme that is used to be able to display the text. So if a student reads better with the dark background and the light text, like that white coming through on the black, they can choose to change that to that dark mode that you sometimes see people use in different browsers as well. Now, two other things that are up there that are also great for struggling readers is first this one with the line spacing. It defaults to standard, but you can change the line spacing to loose, and you watch what happens to the spacing between the text, or even very loose. So if you have a student that struggles, if they're reading a line, they get to the end of the line and they have trouble tracking to that next line to pick up where their sentence had left off, maybe try that loose spacing. So in addition to that, the spacing of the text vertically, you can also choose the spacing of the words horizontally across the screen. You can default to standard, but you can also change it to wide, and you can see the spacing there widens out. So again, students that are struggling finding that separation between the letters of different words, or go to very wide, and it will make it easier for those students to be able to track and read. So that's because of that. That's why reading mode is, I think, one of the cooler features embedded right into Google Chrome, that if you're not taking advantage of, or if you're not teaching your students how to take advantage of, could be a game changer in my mind.
Okay.
All right. So the other tool that I'd like to show you here today is Bard. Bard is Google's generative AI, similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT, but it's built on that whole Google ecosystem. So it gives possibly some benefits there for yourself and your students. And I just want to show a couple of the features that I think help make Bard stand out. So I'm going to enter in a prompt here. Say I teach a group of fifth graders. And for whatever reason, they're really into underwater whale communication. So I'm going to ask Bard to put together kind of an academic article about how whales communicate underwater, and I want to give it some legitimacy. So I'm going to also ask it to cite two sources and then have it generate that content for me. And so as you can see, Bard is generating that content. It gives it a creative title. There's some good, what looks like good content here. Just in my little skimming, I'd say it's probably appropriate for a fifth grade reading level. And you can see that it's going to cite two different sources for me. I can click on these. This one that I've been to before is from NOAA, and I actually know that that one exists because the last time I tried this, that's what it came up with. But there's also one there from whales.org. I've not heard of that one before, but I can check that source and verify that it's a legitimate one. And it looks to be pretty legit with what I see. So I could probably trust the content that's going to come from there. So that's kind of neat, is that it will give you sources. The other thing is that when you generate here with Bard, it's not going to give you just one option, but two others as well. So if I have this one here, that one was the one that it defaulted to, but I can also check out these other two options to see if they might be more of a format that I like better, or maybe it's just content, the way that it's presented is a little bit more accurate, and I want to go with that. So check out those other drafts. And again, just like with ChatGPT 2, if you don't like the result that it gives you, you can also regenerate and make other drafts as well. The other part that I want to show you here, that what is a neat feature here, is that Bard is built upon all of the Google search engine and gives you the possibility to be able to double check the content that it produces for you using Google. So, we've heard stories about how sometimes when AI doesn't know something, it will make up or hallucinate an answer. So using this double check feature here, that G icon on the bottom of the screen, I can click the double check responses. And so what Google is doing is it is searching to try to find content that it can either verify, or it can say, this might be something that you need to maybe refer back to and see if this is actually true or not, and do some of that evaluation on your own. So the parts that show up in green are the parts that it can verify through its Google search that it did. And so there's some good ones that you'll see on here, but yet there's this one statement that it's not so sure about. So I would, before I shared this out, have the ability to be able to use this to verify that information before I share it out with all of my students. So those two features are some of the ones that I like best about using Google Chrome.
Thanks for tuning in to the Integrate This podcast. We hope you have picked up some valuable insights to help you explore Google Chrome and its best features. Special thanks to co-host Jeremy Mikla and to all of our viewers for joining this digital exploration. I'm David Berner. Until next time, keep integrating, innovating, and shaping the future of education. Happy teaching.
And don't forget to subscribe to our Integrate This YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram and X for the latest tutorials and discussions in EdTech. I'm really looking forward to next week, where we'll be jumping behind the seat of Google Drive. I know I'm not the only one who needs help with that tool, so we'll see you then.